Welcome to What's Your Forte, presented by Bandology.
Welcome to the fourth episode of What's Your Forte. This week we have Leslie Ashworth, a Canadian violinist, composer, and the founder and director of the Sweet Melody Care program, which involves talented young musicians giving back to their community by sharing themed, interactive performances in local hospitals, long-term care, and retirement homes in Ontario and beyond. She got her Bachelor's of Music Performance at the Gould School in the Royal Conservatory of Music in Toronto, and is currently studying her Master's of Music at the Shepherd School of Music at Rice University in Houston, Texas. In addition to the violin, she's classically trained on the viola and the piano, and has also studied jazz, piano, and Celtic fiddling. Leslie has released 2 CDs, which a portion of the proceeds went to We Charity, formerly known as Free the Children. Leslie has performed with numerous orchestras across Canada and in celebrated venues such as Carnegie Hall, Corner Hall, Vancouver Convention Centre, the Rolston Hall in the Banff Centre, and she has performed for audiences in Canada, the United States, France, and Italy. Without further ado, let's jump into this week's episode with Leslie Ashworth. So welcome to What's Your Forte, and to start us off, can you briefly introduce yourself and the current positions or projects that you are involved in right now?
My name's Leslie Ashworth. I'm a violinist and a composer, and I'm currently studying my master's at Rice University.
Is there a specialization within that master's, or is it performance, education, something like that?
I'm doing my master's in music, and yes, it's a performance degree.
Awesome. And can you bring us back to your musical beginnings, so like the first thing that drew you to an instrument?
Well, I've always loved music. I started playing when I was 4, and I just loved being able to make music, and it's always been a part of me. So I was singing around the house when I was 3 years old, and my parents decided to start me on the violin because I was small. The violin came in small sizes. And I really loved it, and it's been an extension of me ever since.
I find it that with a lot of string players, they start early. Is that because they come in smaller sizes for children and stuff like that?
I guess that would be part of it. Yeah, for sure. Like the violin, I started on 1/16 size. I
Oh,
still
wow.
have that. Yeah, it was like a tiny little instrument. And it's, you kind of like grow up, and as you're growing up, your instrument grows too. So it's fun.
When did viola and piano come into the mix?
Well, I started playing the piano when I was 6, and that was when we ended up getting a piano, so that was when I was able to start. I started actually quite a bit later. That was a recommendation from the violin teacher I was studying with, Barry Schiffman, and he thought viola would be a good fit for me as well and open up some more opportunities, and I love playing it. So I think I started playing viola when I was about 12.
That's super cool. Yeah, I guess there's a lot less violists than there are violinists, so it broadens your opportunities as a string player.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also just so much fun to play viola in like chamber music, for example, where you're like inside the heart of everything, and you've got the inner voices, and you're communicating with all the violins, the cello. It's really exciting.
And just for anyone that might be watching this, can you just explain the difference between the violin and the viola?
Yeah, definitely. So the violin is the highest instrument of the string family. It's the smallest instrument. And it has 4 strings, G, D, A, and E in ascending order. So they're separated by fifths. The viola is a larger instrument than the violin. It's played the same way, so it's also played on your shoulder, but it's larger, so it feels bigger for sure and heavier. And instead of having a high E string, the viola actually has a lower string below the G string, and that's the C string. So it has a richer and deeper sound than the violin.
That was a great explanation. So what brought you to wanting to do it as a career? Was there something, were you playing in ensembles at the time? Was there something that made you want to be like, yes, this is the career that I want to have?
So I think violin has always been something so natural to pursue a career in the violin. I do think that my parents were always very inspiring and supportive. And when I was little and studying the violin, they were taking me to different concerts that featured violinists as their soloists. And that was definitely very inspiring because it gave me something to look up to and want to work towards. So I think seeing, like when I was 7 and 8, going to concerts and seeing violinists performing made me want to be able to do that too.
That's super cool. And then what brought you to the Gould School in Toronto?
Well, I actually started in their Taylor Academy. So they have a pre-college that's for younger musicians. I think it's around ages 7 to 18. And I started when I was 10 there. And so I was there for a large part of my life, and it was really wonderful because they have chamber music, they have orchestra, they have music theory and ear training classes and everything, and you really get immersed in music in a challenging way. So it gave me a lot of key foundational aspects of my training. So moving on to the Glenn Gould School was kind of like the next step in my education.
After that, what brought you to your master's?
So I'm studying my master's at Rice, and what brought me there, well, I did a lot of auditions going into my master's, because part of a musician's education is like going to schools to audition and play for a jury, and that's how you find out if you get into the school or not. And so I did that in my 4th year of my undergrad, and I was very fortunate to have many choices. And Rice, Rice offered me a full scholarship, which was really incredible. And also the teacher there, Paul Cantor, I was studying partially with him at the Glenn Gould School, and I really loved studying with him. So it was exciting to be able to have regular lessons with him at Rice. And also Rice has an amazing orchestra program. So those factors made me decide to go to Rice.
That's super cool. So correct me if I'm wrong, but Glenn Gould School is more of a conservatory type setting. So is Rice more university college type setting, or is it also conservatory?
No, you're right. Yes. So the Glenn Gould School is definitely, it's a very tight-knit, small community, and it is kind of like a conservatory. They did just become degree granting. So in my last year, that year was the first year to graduate with a Bachelor of Music from the Glenn Gould School, which was very, very exciting for them. Rice is part of a big university. So I'm in the Shepherd School of Music, which is within Rice. And I think it kind of has two different feels to it, because you definitely know that you are part of the university, and there's those amazing faculty, like the professors and academic classes are very strong there. But then also because it's its own school within the university, there is still that tight-knit feel that the Glenn Gould School also has. So it was really I think the best choice to be able to continue studying, going from Glenn Gould School to Rice. Yeah.
And do you find a difference between the Canadian versus like United States aspect of the education, or in your experience as just being a Canadian in Texas studying?
Yes, there are definitely different aspects of that. Well, at the school, there are definitely people also from many different parts of the world too. So we have a lot of people from Asia, and there's other Canadians at Rice, and yeah, so it's definitely a big mix. But you do know that you're at a U.S. university. Yes.
So we're already at the halfway point, which is what we call the Fast Five Rapid Round. And what it is there's 5 questions. The point is to do the first thing that comes in your head, but there's no time limit. So are you ready for the Fast Five Rapid Round?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, number 1, favorite concert you attended?
Oh, maybe Barry Schiffman and Friends. I really love those concerts.
And music you listened to growing up?
Well, everything I was learning. A lot of Bach, though. I listened to a lot of Bach growing up.
Favorite movie soundtrack?
Lady Gaga, all of the A Star Is Born movie soundtrack. Love it.
An instrument that you wish you played?
The harp.
And a hidden talent?
Oh, I'm not sure I have hidden talents. I like to cook, but that's not really a hidden talent.
You know what? It's harder than it looks, so it'll count.
Bandology is a proud Canadian nonprofit dedicated to more music for more kids via education, collaboration, and community. Find out more at bandology.ca.
From the rapid round you said a lot of stuff that you were listening to growing up was the stuff that you learned. So would that be from, like, I guess a big part of learning an instrument is also learning the repertoire of that instrument?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's I think so valuable to immerse yourself in whatever you are learning, to listen to many different recordings, and hear what other violinists or other musicians are doing with the pieces, like how their interpretations unfold. And also, I think that just as a young child, studying music, it's so helpful to get it into your ear, like how the melody sounds, what happens, because then you can learn it more quickly.
That is a great tip. Do you have any major influences or mentors?
Yes, definitely. So many. Well, first of all, my parents are definitely influences on me. They're both really hardworking, inspiring individuals, and do everything for my siblings and I. So they definitely have had a huge impact on me. They always have really um, generous advice to share. And so I feel grateful to them. And then all of the teachers that I've studied with for sure have been huge influences on my music making, my style of playing, and also just where I have ended up, like the different avenues I've explored have definitely been through the encouragement of my teachers.
Super cool. Are there any career highlights you can think of? But also, if you have any like fun anecdotes of something an experience that you had that maybe you didn't know that would become an opportunity when you first started out, you look back on being like, wow, I can't believe that this happened to me.
Yes. Well, I have two that definitely stand out. So one, a highlight of my career so far, is definitely was playing in Carnegie Hall a few years ago. Well, I've played there a few times. They have three different halls within their Carnegie Hall, but playing in the big hall was the maybe highlight of those three times that I played. Particularly because it was during Christmas time. It was actually Christmas Eve, and it was over a program that they called the New York String Orchestra Seminar. And I was conducted by Jamie Laredo, and I was part of that orchestra. And it was just so exciting to be performing there Christmas Eve, and the concert was sold out, and the acoustics there are just incredible. Like they're like nothing else. So beautiful, and it was just a very inspiring, thrilling moment.
How did that opportunity come about?
That was through an audition process. Actually, I was participating in a program back in Banff, and one of the teachers there was hearing me play, and this was on the viola, and he suggested I apply to this program as he thought it would be something that I would like and I would learn from. And so he suggested I apply, and then so you apply, and then you also are invited to do a live audition. So we would travel to New York to do a live audition, and then I found out I was accepted.
That's amazing. And then you also touched on that there was there's two highlights.
Yeah. So the other one that I found very inspiring was actually playing in the Oakville Hospital. And this was going back now when I was in high school. And I was playing on the rehabilitation ward of the Oakville Hospital. And it was just amazing to see how powerful music was. It really touched the patients and really brightened their spirits. So that actually inspired me to create a program called Sweet Melody Care, which I don't know, maybe we're going to be touching on that later. But that was a huge experience for me because it really changed, or it opened up a lot more possibilities by creating that program. Yeah.
Do you mind just explaining the Sweet Melody Care program?
So Sweet Melody Care started back in 2012. I started it when I was in high school, and it's a program that encourages young musicians, singers, and now dancers as well to give back to the community and bring some joy through music to hospital patients and the elderly. And started out as just a small project when I was in high school. And I took some online courses which helped me develop the idea further, and I created a 40-page business plan and website, and that enabled me to develop the idea further so that now we are giving over 100 performances annually, in before COVID, obviously, live performances. We would give them in hospitals, retirement homes, and long-term care facilities in Southern Ontario. We also have a chapter in Iowa and also in Houston.
That is super cool. Obviously, because of COVID, people can't go into long-term care facilities because they're the most at risk and stuff. But they do like live Skype sessions and stuff like that for people in those types of homes. Is that something that you might consider for Sweet Melody Care?
Well, yes, definitely. Actually, we do Sweet Melody Care virtual performances. So we started those back in April, and we've been giving these performances. They're pre-recorded, but what I have musicians and dancers do is they send in videos to me, and then we compile them into a larger video. Each video has a theme, just like in our live performances, and we share them with the same audiences that we would be performing with live. And it's just really wonderful to be able to continue to touch and give back to those audiences, but now through a virtual screen. What's been really amazing about doing it virtually is because we can now expand the performance team. So we've had people from Canada, US, Germany, Wales send videos in and contribute to these audiences. So it's really amazing to be able to, and we've also had like all different age groups. So we had like a very young violinist performing, and then we also have had like a 70-year-old pianist performing in the videos. So it's really amazing to be able to kind of extend that through the virtual performances.
Why is music education important to you?
Yeah, that's definitely a very important question. Music education is important to me. Well, from my own perspective, I think it's so important to gain a well-rounded view of whatever you're doing and to have opportunities to study not just on your instrument, but also to be able to express yourself and be creative, and also learning things about composers and developing the theory side of things. Just having that fully rounded perspective is so important. And I also think for students that are studying music, even if they're not pursuing it as a career, having this chance to study music really develops so many different parts of you as a person. So I think it makes us better people by playing music.
That's a fantastic answer. That also just reminded me, you're composing. When did that start?
So I love composing. It's really fun to be able to create your own pieces, and just because I'm always playing other people's compositions on the violin and piano and that, it's nice to be able to also kind of have another creative outlet through composition. I've been doing it for many years. I'm not actually sure when I started, because it started out like with me just like playing around, and then it slowly evolved to me actually writing things down and making pieces out of them. But I love doing it, and I've been continuing to compose during COVID. Yes, for sure. I actually just participated in this one competition. That there was a composition competition. It was pretty fun. And I'm probably not going to pronounce the name of the competition well because it's in French. It's Jeunesse Musicale Fondation. It's a home sweet home composition competition run by that organization, and it was quite a neat experience because what they had us do was create a composition based on a motif that they provided, and you created it. It had to be under 3 minutes, and you submit it, and then they upload those videos, and you actually it's about audience participation, so you're trying to receive votes for your composition. So that just ended actually, so the results haven't been announced yet, but I'll keep you posted.
That's super cool. Like, so from what I understand, most composition competitions, which is quite hard to say, first of all, but they're mostly judged by panels. So it's interesting that the public gets to vote on their favorite. It's a sort of a new format that I've never seen before. That's really cool.
Yeah, I think it was a very creative idea that they had, this organization.
Yeah. And when you compose, do you gravitate towards the violin or maybe the piano? Is there a certain instrumentation that you find yourself always writing for?
Well, because I play the violin and the piano, definitely those are instruments that I love to write for, because I just feel that I understand them so well. And when I compose, I'm usually on the piano, like improvising and playing around. So it's natural that those pieces end up being for those instruments. But I have also written for string quartet, for voice, for orchestra. So it's definitely, I'm continuing to explore new instrumentations in my compositions.
Awesome. And then advice for young musicians that are interested in either the violin, composition, viola, piano, all the things that you do. Do you have any advice for them?
Yes, for sure. So my advice would be to, well, firstly, find your voice. So if you're really passionate about playing the piano, the violin, whatever instrument speaks to you, really take advantage of that calling and go for it. And also be prepared to work hard, because it's definitely, none of these instruments are easy, but keep persevering and stay dedicated to your goals, because they can come true if you work hard for it and are motivated to accomplish them.
That's great advice. A lot of things have been put on hold music-wise and performance arts-wise because of COVID, obviously, but talked a little bit about the composition competition and virtual Sweet Melody Care performances and stuff like that. Do you have any current projects or plans that you're working on, or things that are coming up in the future that you're really excited about?
Yes, so I'm continuing to do the Sweet Melody Care virtual performances, and what's fun about that is there's always new ways to reach audiences and also new ways to present programs. So I'm continuing to explore new collaborations with people and new musicians and other participants. So like adding dancers to our most recent video was quite a fun way to extend that. And then also I've been doing some online virtual performances. I just recently performed for the Brat Music Live concert series. That was a lot of fun. And there's a few new opportunities that I'm exploring at the moment. So definitely we'll be posting more about those.
Fantastic. And if people want to get in touch with you or to keep up to date on all these things that you're doing, where should they go?
So my own website is a great way to get in touch, because there's a contact page there. It's my name, leslieashworth.ca. Also, if anybody's interested in participating in the Sweet Melody Care virtual performances, while I can't promise we're going to accept every single video we receive, I would love to be in touch and to explore that idea. So I would invite any musician, singer, or dancer that would think that this might be a fun way to give back virtually to contact me. And that actually, I'll give you my email address for that: Ashworth Productions with an S at the end at gmail.com.
Awesome. And so that brings us to the end of the questions, but you do have your violin with you. Would you like to perform anything at all?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I will have to take off my earbuds. Give me 1 second. Not sure what the audio quality is going to be like over the computer. Okay, so I'll play one of my own compositions. This is My Forever Friend, and it was written for my mother. It's actually written for violin and piano, but I'll just play the violin part for you. It's a very short piece, and actually I wrote it because for my mother, because back a few years ago I was improvising and playing on the piano, and I noticed that she was saying that she really loved this one melody that I was playing, and she wanted me to write it down. So I wrote it down, and then a little while later I ended up making a piece out of it, and so I dedicated it to her.
Nice. Awesome. Can't wait to hear it.
Thank you. thank you.
That was awesome.
Well, I do actually have a recording of that piece on YouTube if you'd rather use that.
That's a really good thing to know. If anyone watched or listened to it and they want to hear the whole thing or see the whole thing, it is on YouTube. That brings us to the end of the interview. Thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with me and also playing. I really enjoyed learning more about Sweet Melody Care and your experiences with the music.
Oh, well, thank you. It was wonderful to be able to share.
Thanks again so much to Leslie for that amazing performance and interview. Great time learning about her different experiences and the things that brought her to where she is today. If you'd like to stay up to date on all What's Your Forte episodes, you can follow us on your favorite podcasting platform or subscribe to our YouTube channel where all the video interviews are. Once again, I'm your host, Megan Harden, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us on What's Your Forte, presented by Bandology. If you liked what you heard, you can find out more about this series and our organization at bandology.ca, which features information about research, advocacy, and music education, and our band camp and play a gig programs. Follow us on social media for more videos and performances on Instagram and Facebook.